Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a romantic drama film, ONDINE. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with a fisherman named Sam trawling along the sea to catch fish. He drags his net out of the seawater and surprisingly finds a beautiful woman caught by the net. He figures out that she is still alive, so he resuscitates her. She gains consciousness and wonders about her surroundings. She utters that she is already dead. He lets her realize that she is still alive. He offers to bring her to the hospital, but she refuses since she does not want to be exposed to other people. Because of this, he lets her stay in an isolated house where he used to live during his childhood. Sam leaves as he's already late for picking up her sick daughter, Annie, who is currently in a wheelchair. He brings Annie to her dialysis. There, he tells her a story about a fisherman who accidentally caught a beautiful woman in the sea. Annie asks if the woman is a mermaid or a selkie. He asks Annie about the selkie, and she replies that a selkie is a seal woman who sings in the seal rock. She adds that a selkie lives on land once she loses her seal coat, and she goes back when the sea calls her. After the dialysis, Sam brings Annie back to her mother's home. It turns out Sam got divorced from Annie's mother, Maura, and Annie currently lives with her mother and her mother's new boyfriend. Both Maura and her boyfriend are alcoholics who are always drunk. Maura scolds Sam for being late earlier because he misses the appointment with the doctor. Apparently, Annie needs kidney transplants, and the doctor has a piece of news about a possible kidney donor. Sam goes back to the beautiful woman that he caught on the net, and he finds her singing a song in an unknown language. She comes with him to the sea as he goes fishing. There, she introduces herself as ONDINE, which means she came from the water. He pulls up the lobster and notices that every time ONDINE sings, the lobster traps have a catch. He then says that ONDINE brings him luck, since it is his first time to have a plentiful lobster catch. He proceeds to sell the lobsters in the market, and he buys new clothes for ONDINE as her share of the profit. After that, he picks up Annie at the school. He continues the story of the fisherman and the sea woman. He narrates that the sea woman is singing for the fisherman. Annie says that the sea woman must be a selkie, since singing is their way to communicate underwater. Sam goes back to ONDINE, and Annie follows him out of curiosity. He gives the new clothes to ONDINE. It appears that she does not know how to wear clothes properly. ONDINE says that she will stay as long as he wants her to stay. He replies she can stay forever and happily ever after like a fairy tale. Annie listens to their conversation, and she figures out that the story of the fisherman and sea woman refers to Sam and ONDINE. She then comes to the library to borrow books about selkies. Sam goes to the church where he confesses his development. Apparently, Sam and Maura are formerly alcoholics. This is why people in their town tag Sam and Circus. But Sam shares that he stops being an alcoholic for his daughter, while Maura continues to be an alcoholic. He then confesses to the priest that he has been sober for a long time after he broke up with Maura. He recalls that he has a recurring dream where he is at Maura's boyfriend's funeral, and he is back living with Maura, who is still a drunkard. He also shares that he catches a woman through a net. The following day, Annie visits ONDINE, and she says she wants to be friends with ONDINE. She tells ONDINE that she has kidney failure, and she wishes ONDINE to make her feel better. Annie asks her about her seal coat, suspecting that ONDINE is a selkie. Annie shares that selkies cannot go back to the sea without their seal coat. Apparently, selkies can stay in the land by burying their seal coats in the land. Then, selkies can stay for 7 years on the land until they finally find unexpected happiness with a landsman. After they talk for a while, ONDINE gives Annie a goodbye kiss. Meanwhile, Sam goes to the library to research selkies, but the librarian informs him that Annie already borrowed them. Sam soon visits ONDINE, and he finds her wearing his gift dress. She comes with him again, fishing in the sea. The coast guards pass through their boat, prompting her to hide. After the coast guards were gone, she sang again, and the trawling net caught a lot of salmon. He is surprised to find a salmon catch, since it's impossible to catch salmon by trawling. The coast guards check their boat, and they wonder how Sam caught the salmon fishes. They do not believe Sam that he caught it by trawling. Sam and ONDINE sail back to the harbor. There, everyone is mystified by ONDINE's beauty. On the other side, a strange man is seen observing ONDINE from afar. Sam sells the salmon, and after that, he brings ONDINE to the clothing store to let her choose. Annie accompanies them, saying Sam's story is based on a true story. In the clothing store, Annie helps ONDINE choose clothes. The next day, ONDINE helps Annie swim in the water. There, ONDINE accidentally finds her seal coat. Annie says that they must bury it, so ONDINE can stay on land for 7 years. They then bury it together in the land. Later, Sam and the two girls are sailing along the sea. There, Annie shares with Sam that Ondine can now stay on land for 7 years until her Selkie husband claims her back. She also shares that Ondine can grant wishes, but Ondine denies being a Selkie herself. To test if Ondine can breathe underwater, Annie deliberately jumps into the deep seawater. Ondine then jumps into the water to save her. After that, Sam brings Annie back to Mora. Mora interrogates her about Sam's new woman. Meanwhile, Sam and Ondine go back to his childhood house. She asks why people called him a circus clown. He answers people calling him a circus because he is always drunk. He then shares that he changed because of Annie. He wants to give Annie a better life by being sober. But in return, Mora kicked him out of the house. Unfortunately for him, he cannot get custody of Annie since he is only a fisherman. After they talk about his former life, they begin to wrestle their muscles. The following day, Sam confesses to the priest that he has been having good luck since the day he met Ondine. He shares that he is beginning to have hope in life, thinking that something wonderful is about to happen. But he is afraid of having hope since he is not used to it. He walks out of the church, and the strange man from earlier approaches him. The strange man asks him about Ondine, but he simply pushes the strange man away. He then picks up Annie and brings her back to Mora. However, Mora and her boyfriend are out drinking in the bar, so he accompanies Annie to them. Meanwhile, Ondine notices the strange man is looking for her, prompting her to hide. It turns out the strange man is Ondine's husband. Sam soon comes to visit Ondine, but he finds his childhood house is in a complete mess, while Ondine is nowhere to be found. He frantically looks for her, and he finds her hiding. She shares that her Selkie husband is on land to get her back. He then asks her to wish to push her Selkie husband away, but she says she cannot do that, so she just wishes for Annie to be alright, and Sam wishes her to stay. That night, Ondine's husband is driving in rage, while Mora is drunk driving with her boyfriend and her daughter. He accidentally hits Mora's car. The impact greatly injures the boyfriend as he flies out of the car windshield. Later, Sam and Ondine are driving around the town when they find the aftermath of the accident. The rescuers bring the man and Annie to the hospital. Mora's boyfriend died from the injuries, but the doctors find out that his tissue matches Annie. The doctors then transplant his kidney to Annie to cure her kidney failure. Meanwhile, the husband confronts Ondine, saying that they do not belong on land, but she tells him to go back to the sea. Sam soon attends Mora's boyfriend's wake. There, she tells him to take their daughter back into his custody. The two get drunk as Mora forces Sam to drink with respect to her boyfriend's wake. As they drink together, she tells him to get rid of Ondine, saying that Ondine brings bad luck after good luck. Believing that, the drunk Sam then goes to Ondine, who is hiding in his boat. He abruptly tells her that he will be taking her back home, but afraid that she will haunt him, he leaves her alone in the lighthouse. He tells her that landsmen like him do not belong with Selkies like her. Later, the priest finds Sam sleeping in the tree. The priest tells Sam that he cannot take good luck because it is easier to be miserable. Sam picks up Annie, and he brings her back to his home. There, Annie shares that Ondine will soon be back because she left something there. The next day, Sam wakes up sober from drunkenness. He hears a Selkie song on the television, which makes him remember Ondine. He then sails back to the lighthouse, where he asks Ondine if she is really a Selkie. He searches the lighthouse, but she is nowhere to be found. He keeps looking until he finds her silhouette in Seal Rock. There, she reveals that she is actually a drug mule from Romania. Apparently, she and her husband are being chased by the Coast Guards. During that time, her husband made her jump into the water with the drug because her husband cannot swim. She kept swimming in the sea until she could swim no more. She sank into the water, thinking that she would die. But luckily at that time, Sam found her and saved her life. Sam brings Ondine back to their home, where her husband and a gunman ambush them. The husband asks for Ondine's seal code. Annie refuses to reveal its location, since this means that Ondine will be back to the sea. But the husband threatens them, so Ondine reveals its location. They keep digging in the ground, but the seal coat is nowhere to be found. It turns out Annie had moved its location, since she didn't want Ondine to leave. As they cannot find it, the husband smashes the ground with the shovel out of rage. He then threatens to hurt Annie. To let Annie tell the location of the seal coat, Ondine promises Annie that she will stay as long as Annie wants. Annie reveals to them that she moved it to the lobster pot. They sail back to sea to search for the lobster pot. As her husband is busy dragging the lobster pot, Ondine pulls the rope, which pushes the man out of the boat. Sam instantly pushes the gunman into the water and disarms the gunman. The husband eventually drowns to death while the gunman is arrested. Ondine faces deportation as she is a non-national, so Sam needs to marry her in order to prevent her from being deported. Annie confesses to the priest that Sam will marry Ondine. She then asks the priest to host their wedding. Sam and Ondine eventually get married. In the end, Sam and Ondine can now finally fulfill the fairy tale where they happily lived ever after. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.